Welcome back to Navy Doc. Forget the deafening boom or the acrid smell of gunpowder. The weapon we're discussing today kills in silence. The Pacific Theater. For decades, the rules of engagement were dictated by ballistics and jet fuel. Now, the U.S. Navy has deployed a capability that renders traditional kinetic strikes obsolete. Deep within the superstructure of an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer, a new predator has awakened. It strikes at the speed of light, silent and invisible. Welcome to the era of directed energy warfare. October 2024. The USS Preble cuts through the waters off the California coast. To the untrained eye, she looks like any other destroyer in the fleet. But military observers know this vessel carries the future of the Navy. She carries Helios, the high-energy laser with integrated optical dazzler and surveillance. Let's be clear about this. This isn't Star Wars science fiction, nor is it a blueprint or a lab prototype. This is a bona fide combat asset that has reached initial operational capability, IOC, and is active right now. Why do we need it? Naval intelligence has tracked an asymmetric threat rising on the horizon. Transnational criminal organizations and proxy forces are employing swarm tactics. They use interceptor speedboats, tearing through the water at over 50 knots, screened by swarms of cheap commercial surveillance drones. These are highly coordinated paramilitary operations, moving contraband or weapons worth millions. Aerial drones act as the eyes in the sky, beaming real-time telemetry to shore-based commanders, helping smugglers bypass traditional Coast Guard interdiction measures. Let's look at the simple, brutal economics. In the past, to neutralize a Shahed suicide drone or a modified commercial UAV costing between $2,000 and $20,000, the Navy had to launch an SM-2 or SM-6 interceptor. The price tag for a single SM-6? Roughly $4.3 million. Firing a $4 million round at a $2,000 target. That is an economic asymmetry that is unsustainable in the long run. The enemy doesn't need to defeat the U.S. Navy with firepower. They just need to bankrupt us. Helios flips that equation entirely. It requires no magazine. It draws power directly from the ship's gas turbine generators. The cost per shot? Guess what? Exactly $13. The price of a cocktail at a dive bar. So what generates this power? The engineering is micro-precise. Unlike the bulky chemical lasers of the Cold War, Helios uses spectral beam combining. The system converges multiple fiber optic channels, each emitting at a slightly different wavelength, into a single, coherent, and powerful 120 kilowatt stream. When the trigger is pulled, no projectile leaves the barrel. There is zero time of flight. No ballistic arc, no need to calculate for gravity or windage. The energy impacts the target instantly, quite literally at the speed of light. Imagine the physical impact. Against the thin aluminum hull of a speedboat or the polymer frame of a drone, the result is catastrophic. The 120 kilowatt beam doesn't pierce like a kinetic round. It dumps massive thermal energy into a microscopic point. It causes immediate thermal overload, vaporizing electronics, melting engines, and igniting fuel lines or warheads. It all happens in a split second, before the sound of the shot even registers. Crucially, Helios is fully integrated into the Aegis combat system, the brain of American warships. It utilizes advanced thermal optics to automatically detect, track, and lock onto targets. Most importantly, the magazine depth. A destroyer can only carry about 90 to 96 missiles. Once they're gone, the ship must return to port. But with Helios, the magazine is limited only by the fuel in the ship's bunkers. As long as the engines are running and the generators are spinning, the gun is loaded. This allows it to defeat saturation attacks that would deplete a standard missile battery in minutes. However, we have to be honest here. Technology is still bound by the laws of physics. The laser's greatest enemy isn't an enemy missile, it's the atmosphere itself. Atmospheric attenuation, humidity, fog, sea spray, and dust can absorb or scatter the beam, significantly reducing energy density at the target. This phenomenon is known as thermal blooming. Savvy adversaries will time their logistics to coincide with adverse weather, seeking safety in storms or heavy fog banks. But the Navy isn't stopping at 120 kilowatts. Future iterations are targeting 300 kilowatts and even 500 kilowatts, designed for the hulls of the next-generation DDG-X destroyers. The goal is fleet-wide adoption, creating a layered energy defense across the water. Furthermore, Helios isn't just a weapon of destruction. It offers a spectrum of tactical options. Its optical dazzler can blind an enemy drone's image sensors and cameras without destroying the airframe. This is incredibly useful in gray zone scenarios, denying the enemy intelligence while maintaining necessary restraint. This is the new doctrine of sea control. Neutralize the swarm without draining the defense budget. It sends an unmistakable signal to global rivals. The U.S. carrier strike group maintains absolute dominance, even in the most heated, contested waters. Electromagnetic dominance isn't limited to the surface. At 50,000 feet, the B-2 Spirit, the world's most advanced stealth bomber, is undergoing an evolution of its own. With a $2 billion airframe, for a strategic bomber to carry a finite magazine is a strategic vulnerability. When facing enemy air forces or surface-to-air missiles, the B-2 needs self-defense capabilities. To counter modern air-to-air missiles or swarms of suicide drones, defense primes like Northrop Grumman are integrating directed energy weapon pods directly into the fuselage. By tapping into the aircraft's own power generation systems, the B-2 can engage air-to-air and air-to-ground threats indefinitely. The silent guardian of the skies is arming itself with light. Visualize the payload shift. By shedding kinetic warheads, 20mm cannons, or defensive missiles, the B-2 Spirit sheds thousands of pounds of dead weight. No missile racks to empty, just an endless stream of electrons. The economic calculus becomes ruthless once again. $15 per shot. A strategic bomber can now cook air defense sensors or splash an interceptor for the cost of a lunch special. This flips the script on asymmetric warfare. The enemy relies on saturation tactics, hundreds of disposable drones designed to deplete finite interceptor batteries. Traditional economics favored the swarm, bleeding U.S. defenses dry. Directed energy erases that vulnerability. It offers a theoretically infinite magazine depth. As long as the aircraft's auxiliary power units are spinning, the weapon remains lethal. This endurance pairs perfectly with the B-2's stealth architecture. A standard missile launch creates a massive thermal bloom and smoke trail, compromising position in an instant. A laser shot is completely invisible. The bomber engages on multiple vectors without revealing its coordinates. However, physics remains the final arbiter. Atmospheric attenuation, dust, humidity, and rain can scatter beam coherence, reducing effective range. Mission planners must now integrate complex meteorological data into the kill chain. The doctrine is shifting. Procurement budgets are moving from stockpiling mountains of munitions to developing compact, high-output fusion generators. Combat tradecraft is evolving too. Unlike fire-and-forget munitions, lasers demand continuous tracking time. Pilots must maintain precise flight paths to maintain thermal overload on the enemy airframe. It marks a turning point in military strategy. Victory in the 21st century relies not just on fire superiority, but on economic endurance, the ability to project power indefinitely without exhausting the logistics network. While the U.S. focuses on lasers, A dark alliance has formed on the other side of the hemisphere. Intelligence indicates that Iranian-backed Houthi forces are establishing a technology transfer pipeline with Mexican cartels. The trade is simple: crypto and chemical precursors from the cartels in exchange for battle-tested Houthi munitions. Drug syndicates now possess hardware previously reserved for state militaries. Under the oversight of the Iranian Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, this illicit trade bypasses international sanctions. Advanced radar jammers, loitering munitions, and anti-ship missile components are moving undetected across the Atlantic. The consequences are visible. Tactics honed against U.S. destroyers in the Gulf of Aden are appearing at the Texas border. Border Patrol agents now face drone swarms coordinated in complex military formations. This is no longer smuggling. This is militarized infiltration. With thermal surveillance and electronic warfare capabilities, the line between civil law enforcement and national defense has completely dissolved. In secret camps deep within Central America, a deadly knowledge transfer is underway. Former Houthi drone operators are training cartel technicians in electronic warfare and coordinated strike tactics. U.S. intelligence has identified the dark financial nexus. Crypto transactions from drug lords are indirectly funding forces fighting the U.S. military in the Middle East. The terror cycle has closed the loop. At the border, police now face battlefield-grade hardware, military night vision, armor-piercing rounds, and encrypted satellite comms. The budgets of these criminal organizations now exceed the defense spending of many sovereign nations. With capital equivalent to a hostile nation-state, the cartels have established internal aerospace production capabilities. Profits from a single fentanyl shipment, worth $200 million, are reinvested into subterranean assembly lines. These aren't crude workshops. Run by professional engineers, these facilities churn out 50 advanced unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs, per month, perfectly concealed from reconnaissance satellites. Escalation peaked when the Sinaloa cartel acquired 12 Bayraktar TB2s, the drone type that proved effective in Ukraine. But instead of missiles, they carry 500 pounds of fentanyl. One successful flight is enough to poison the entire U.S. East Coast for 6 months. Criminal ISR capabilities have changed the game. Using military AI algorithms to control swarms, they monitor every move of the Border Patrol using real-time thermal sensors. Material science is applied ruthlessly. Airframes made from carbon fiber and advanced composites increase speed and durability, outperforming traditional aluminum designs. The raw material supply chain has been fully compromised. The ingenuity extends to the ocean depths. Narco-subs are now autonomous carriers, capable of launching reconnaissance drones while submerged. This is a multi-domain surveillance network that current interdiction measures cannot detect. Each sub carries 20 drones with an 8-hour endurance, supported by electronic warfare suites. They deploy jammers and radar decoys, paralyzing police communications and threatening civil aviation safety. The deadliest threat is autonomy. New targeting systems, integrating facial recognition and vehicle matching algorithms, allow drones to hunt specific targets without human intervention. Law enforcement no longer faces surveillance tools, but hunter-killer machines. Through shell companies, black money is flowing into AI startups, turning the border into a high-tech battlefield. A dangerous technological convergence. Civilian projects inadvertently become the foundation for cartel weapon programs. Mass production scale drives costs down deep. With a unit cost under $10,000, a single drug run can now fund an air force of 5,000 units. The link between black profits and military power grows exponentially. For the U.S. military, options are narrowing. Conventional airstrikes carry unacceptable risks of civilian casualties in populated areas. The solution is directed energy weapons. Surgical strike capability allows for the neutralization of underground infrastructure and command hubs without causing widespread devastation. Precision replaces brute force. While the cartels hold the advantage in drone numbers, the US holds the advantage in physics. Unlike ballistics, directed energy systems operate most efficiently in the very environmental conditions the smugglers prefer. Nature has become a strategic ally. By 2023, operational planners mastered the atmospheric variables. Clear skies, low humidity, and stable temperatures at the southwest border are not obstacles. They are the perfect catalyst for optical weapons. In the deserts of Arizona and New Mexico, dry air minimizes beam scattering. The cartels hope the desert heat will hide drone engine signatures, but the pristine atmosphere creates an unobstructed conduit for instant laser strikes. When enemy drones try to gain altitude to evade, they unwittingly fly into a kill box. The higher they go, the thinner the air, and the lower the energy attenuation. The laser beam retains its integrity and maximum destructive power. The tactical paradox. The effort to hide at high altitude makes the target clearer to US sensors. Electro-optical systems easily track, lock, and neutralize the threat with absolute precision. Of course, fog and sandstorms remain physical challenges. But US defense doctrine is layered. Real-time satellite tracking and radar coordinate with kinetic interceptors, ensuring no dead zones during adverse weather. At the end of the day, the cartel's massive investment in quantity is defeated by technology. Instead of sheltering criminals, the atmosphere amplifies the power of the US Navy. Harsh sunlight and thin air are the silent sentinels. The border sky has become an invisible, impenetrable shield. The illusion of cartel control has ended. Silent, precise, devastating. What is unfolding in the Pacific and on the southern border is a stark statement. The world is witnessing the true power of laser weapons. The era of gunpowder is yielding to the speed of light. Will lasers completely replace missiles? Or are they just a supplementary shield? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. The lesson is clear. The future of warfare belongs to those who control the electromagnetic spectrum. The balance of power has tipped firmly toward those with the ultimate technology. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next deep dive military analysis on Navy Doc. Thanks for watching. Click the link on screen to discover more about the arsenal of the future. See you next time.